"What do you mean we're out of clean glasses again?" Preston Vance stood behind the bar, wiping down a pint glass with a towel that smelled like bleach and regret. His beard was gone, his silver-streaked brown hair buzzed short, and a pair of thick, rimmed glasses sat on his nose. He wore a faded black t-shirt with the restaurant's logo stitched in, the same shirt every new hire had to wear. No one here had ever met the CEO in person. He'd inherited the company from his father 5 years ago and had only visited the flagship store once. 13 locations now. He'd spent too long in boardrooms and too little time on the ground. 2 weeks ago, he'd gotten a handwritten letter from a customer. It was about a dinner ruined by a cold meal, long wait time, and a manager who walked away mid-complaint. It wasn't the first bad letter. But something about the tone it was disappointed, not angry, stuck with him. So he chose that same location, a mid-sized restaurant in a suburb just outside of Indianapolis, to go undercover as a busser in training. "I'll get more from the back," said a voice, breathless. Preston turned. A teenage waiter, barely 16, darted past him carrying a tray with 4 steaming plates. Sweat clung to his forehead. His name tag read, "Illy." "Hey kid, you all right?" Preston asked, grabbing the door for him. Illy didn't stop. "Yeah, just short-staffed." "I'm good." That was the 3rd time Preston had seen him do both food, running, and waiting tables in the last 20 minutes. He'd asked the manager, a guy named Craig with slicked hair and a Bluetooth earpiece, about the scheduling. Craig just said, "These kids want hours." "I give them hours." Preston had been bussing tables for 3 hours now. No breaks, not even water, same for the rest of the floor staff. The kitchen was behind, the dishwasher was broken, and the customers were restless. From what he could tell, there were supposed to be 5 servers on a Friday night shift. Only 3 were here. One had called out sick. Another got their hours cut last week, for attitude. In the back, Preston saw Ali again, slamming plates into the dirty bin and refilling drinks at the same time. "Where's the new food runner?" Preston asked a girl behind him. "Quit last week. Said he couldn't take Craig yelling at him in the freezer." Preston frowned. He'd seen Craig do it earlier, corner a new hire near the walk-in fridge and berate him for forgetting to clock out during break. The kid had tears in his eyes. Craig laughed it off after. Back on the floor, a customer raised their hand. Preston stepped in. "Can I help you? We ordered over 30 minutes ago. Our waitress hasn't been back once," the woman said. "I'll check on it right now," Preston replied. He caught Ali at the drink station, who was filling 3 sodas at once. "You got table 17, Ali nodded. "Yeah, I just haven't I'm trying, but I'm the only one covering that section." Craig said Tina was supposed to come in, but his voice cracked. He looked like he hadn't eaten all day. Preston stepped closer. "You been on since when?" 3. "It's almost 10 now. I'm not supposed to be here past 9 because of school rules, but Craig told me if I left, don't bother coming back." That stopped Preston cold. "You're 16. "Yeah." Preston clenched his jaw. "Legally, no minor should be working this late on a school night, and especially not without a break." "Do your parents know?" Ali looked away. "My mom works nights. I told her I'd be home by 9. She doesn't know." Preston didn't say anything. Instead, he quietly took 3 dishes off Ali's tray and followed him out to the floor. For the next hour, he shadowed Ali, helping where he could. The kid moved like a machine, taking orders, fixing mistakes, apologizing for delays he didn't cause. Not once did he snap. Not once did he sit down. Craig, meanwhile, stayed in the office. Every time a customer asked for a manager, he sent someone else. At 11, the kitchen finally closed. Preston and Ali stood side by side at the sink, washing the last wave of silverware. "You should have been gone hours ago," Preston muttered. "I need the money," Ali said, drying his hands. Preston looked at him. This wasn't a summer job for extra cash. This was survival. As they clocked out, Craig strolled over, phone in hand. "Ali, tomorrow, double shift, noon to close." Ali hesitated. "I have class until 2, then you better run here from class," Craig said, walking off. Ali stared at the floor. Preston had seen enough. He stepped outside, took a long breath, and leaned against the dumpster. His back ached. His hands were raw, but his mind was sharp now. He'd come looking for a bad customer experience. Instead, he found a 16-year-old working himself into the ground while the manager sat on his phone all night. And no one, not a single person, knew the man bussing tables next to them owned the place. Preston arrived the next afternoon in the same uniform, slipping in through the side entrance 10 minutes before opening. The air inside still smelled like stale fryer oil and lemon cleaner. Dishes clattered in the kitchen, and two cooks were already arguing over a missing prep list. Music played faintly from a Bluetooth speaker someone had stashed under the dry storage shelf, but it did little to change the tension. He went straight to the back, not to clock in, but to wait. He wasn't scheduled until 2, and Preston wanted to see how things ran before the dinner rush. He found a quiet corner near the utility sink and started folding napkins into silverware rolls, watching. Craig arrived 20 minutes late, wearing sunglasses indoors and holding an iced coffee he didn't offer to anyone else. "Where's Angie?" he asked, already annoyed. She called in. "Said her kid has a fever," one of the hostesses replied. Craig didn't look up from his phone. "Tell her if she misses another shift this week, she's off the schedule." Preston kept his head down. By 2:30, Ellie still hadn't shown. Preston stepped outside. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a few line cooks taking a smoke break near the dumpster. Across the road, Preston spotted someone running, backpack bouncing, shoes untied, hoodie soaked with sweat. Illy. He crossed the street without waiting for the light, backpack slung over one shoulder, and burst through the kitchen door with a wheeze. Craig intercepted him before he could reach the staff room. "You're late. My professor kept us after." "I ran straight here," Illy said, breathless. Craig raised his voice. "I don't care, you're on thin ice. If you want to keep this job, lose the excuses." Preston stepped out from behind a stack of crates. "Hey, I can cover the floor while he gets changed." Craig didn't even look at him. "Good. Make yourself useful." Preston followed Illy into the storage area turned break room. It was barely bigger than a closet, 2 metal chairs, a broken vending machine, and a locker missing its door. "You all right?" Preston asked. Illy peeled off his hoodie, revealing a shirt already damp with sweat underneath. "I'm fine, just tired. You eat anything today?" Illy shook his head. "Didn't have time." Preston pulled a protein bar from his pocket and handed it over without a word. Illy hesitated, then took it. "Thanks." By 3, the dining room started filling. The hostess stand was down one person, so tables weren't being seated in order. Customers were already annoyed. Preston was sent to refill waters and clear plates, but he kept an eye on Illy, who was juggling 4 tables and still hadn't had a moment to catch his breath. At one booth, an elderly couple flagged Illy down. "We asked for no onions," the man said, holding up his burger like evidence. "I'll get that fixed right away," Illy said. As he turned to go, Craig intercepted him again. "You comp that?" Illy paused. "No, I just told them I'd get a new one." "You don't decide comps, that's my call. Next time you tell them it's their fault for not saying it when they ordered." Preston's hand tightened around the tray he was holding. He walked past just in time to hear Illy mutter, "They did tell me. I read it on the ticket." Craig didn't answer. He just walked away, sipping from his iced coffee. Preston kept moving. He didn't want to draw attention, not yet. Not with the dinner rush about to hit. By 5, every booth was filled. Kids were crying, servers were hustling, and the kitchen was 2 tickets behind. Preston made laps between tables, dodging carts and trays, washing his hands every chance he got to buy himself a moment to think. He caught snippets of conversation, customers complaining about slow service, staff venting in hushed tones by the drink station. At one point, a dishwasher came out from the back, pale and shaking. "I need 5 minutes," he said to Craig. "You get a break when the dishes are done," Craig snapped. The kid looked like he might collapse. Preston stepped in and took the empty tray from his hands. "I've got it." "Go sit down." Craig didn't stop him, but he narrowed his eyes. Preston worked the back for 15 minutes, then returned to the floor. Illy was still going. He'd stopped checking his phone, even for the time. Preston saw him take a plate back to a table that had complained about undercooked chicken. He apologized again, even though it wasn't his fault. Then, something shifted. A woman at table 5 waved him over. "Why's that boy doing everything?" "Where's the manager?" Preston stepped in before Ellie could answer. "He's helping cover for someone who didn't show." "That doesn't seem right. He looks exhausted. And that man in the Bluetooth, he just walked past my table 3 times and never asked if we were okay." Preston nodded. "I'll make sure it's addressed." He didn't go to Craig, not yet. Instead, he pulled Ellie aside behind the drink station. "You good?" Ellie nodded, but his shoulders slumped. "You don't have to say yes to everything," Preston said. "If I don't, I get my hours cut or benched." "Craig did it last week to Tina." Preston leaned closer. "What if someone higher up saw how things were run here? What would you want them to know?" Ellie hesitated. "That we're trying, but it's hard when the people in charge only show up to yell." Preston nodded. "Anything else?" "Yeah," Ellie said quietly, "that some of us actually care." At that moment, a commotion broke out near table 12. A customer was yelling, "I want to speak to a manager. This is the 3rd time I've had to send something back." Craig finally walked over. He didn't greet the customer. He didn't apologize. He looked at the plate, shrugged, and said, "We're short-staffed." "What do you want me to do?" The woman stood up. "I want a refund, and I want your name," Craig scoffed. "It's on the receipt." Preston stepped forward. "I'll take care of it." Craig turned. "No, you won't. You're not authorized." "I'm making the call," Preston said, his voice calm but firm. Craig glared. "Who do you think you are?" Preston looked directly at him. "I'm someone who's been watching you ignore your staff, dodge your responsibilities, and disrespect both employees and guests. And I've had enough." Craig laughed, confused. "You've been bussing tables for 2 days. I own the company." Silence. The restaurant went still. Even the cooks in the back paused. Craig's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Preston didn't wait. He turned to the woman at table 12. "Your meal is fully comped. I apologize for your experience. If you're willing to give us another chance next week, I'll make sure it's done right." The woman nodded, stunned. Preston turned back to Craig. "You're done here. Effective now. Gather your things." Craig looked around, desperate for someone to back him up. No one did. He stormed off toward the office, muttering under his breath. Preston turned to the staff. "I know this is abrupt, but changes are coming. You deserve better than what you've been getting." He looked at Ellie, who was frozen, still holding a pitcher of water. "Your shift's over," Preston said. "Go home, get some rest, and tomorrow come back at a reasonable hour. We'll talk then." Ellie blinked. "Are you serious?" "Yes, and take something to eat on the way out." Ellie nodded slowly, as if unsure it was real. As he walked out the door, other employees started whispering. Preston didn't stop them. He just returned to the floor, picked up a tray, and kept working. There was still a long night ahead. But for the first time, the weight in the room had shifted. By the following morning, word had spread. Preston arrived early, this time through the front doors. No uniform, no apron. Just jeans, a navy button-up, and a quiet determination. The assistant manager, a soft-spoken woman named Carmen, met him at the host stand, wringing her hands. "Staff's rattled," she said quietly. "Some of them are scared they're next." "They're not," Preston said. Only one person was removed. "For good reason," Carmen nodded, but her eyes were cautious. "We're running light tonight again." One server called out, "Still no dishwasher for the evening shift." "I'll help cover," Preston said. "Let's focus on getting through the day. Then we fix the rest." In the staff room, he found Ellie sitting on a crate, lacing up his shoes. His eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, but he looked up when Preston entered. "I didn't know if I should come," Ellie said. "You earned your spot here," Preston replied. "No one can take that from you." Ellie hesitated. "Are the rules different now?" "They will be. But it won't happen overnight. Some things will take time." Ellie gave a small nod and stood, grabbing his apron from a hook on the wall. "All right, let's work." They stepped onto the floor together. The early crowd was already trickling in. Families with strollers. A table of retired teachers who always ordered the same thing. A pair of construction workers still in boots and neon vests. Preston took note of gaps in coverage. One of the newer servers, a woman named Lane, was struggling to balance trays. Carmen handed her a drink order and she nearly dropped the glasses. Her face flushed as she turned away, clearly embarrassed. "Has she been trained properly?" Preston asked Carmen. Lane, "Not really." "Craig said she'd figure it out." Preston approached Lane gently. "You mind if I show you a trick with the trays?" She looked up, startled. "Sure, yeah, please." He demonstrated how to balance between the palm and fingertips, not the wrist. She mimicked the motion, her hands trembling slightly. After a few tries, she steadied. "I don't want to mess up," she said. "You won't. Just take your time, it's not a race." By mid-shift, the cracks in the foundation became clearer. The kitchen was short one prep cook. The hostess stand was manned by the same high schooler who had a math final the next day. Cleaning supplies were low. The printer was skipping tickets. Preston stayed moving, filling water glasses, wiping down booths, checking in with staff. In the back hallway, he overheard a conversation between two cooks. "If he really owns the place, why is he here sweating with us? Beats me. Maybe he's trying to scare us." "I don't think so. He helped me restock the freezer this morning." Preston didn't interrupt, he just kept moving. At 4, a delivery truck arrived. The driver, a middle-aged man with sunburned arms and a clipboard, waited at the back door. Carmen was swamped, so Preston signed for the shipment himself. "You're the new guy?" the driver asked, sort of. "Odd. Usually Craig's back here barking orders." "Guess that changed." It did. Back inside, Illy was at table 4 with a couple and a small child. He crouched beside the table, talking softly to the kid, who was crying over a dropped ice cream. A minute later, he returned with a fresh bowl on the house. Preston caught up with him near the POS system. That was thoughtful. Kid didn't even drop it. The dad elbowed it by accident, but he didn't want to admit it. "You handled it well," Illy shrugged. "Felt like the right thing. Keep doing what feels right. We'll make sure the structure supports you next time." By 5, the restaurant filled fast. There was a wait list for booths. One of the regulars asked for Craig, not knowing he was gone. Carmen explained gently that there had been a management change. No one pressed further. In the kitchen, the line was backing up. Carmen flagged Preston down. "Dylan's falling behind on Expo." Dylan, the line cook now handling the Expo station, had sweat pouring down his neck. He was plating wrong items, missing modifiers. He looked up, overwhelmed. "I never worked this side before," he admitted. Preston stepped beside him, rolling up his sleeves. "Call out the tickets, I'll plate. You double-check the garnishes." They fell into rhythm. Dylan called, Preston plated, Carmen ran the food. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Once the rush tapered, Preston stepped outside. The air was cool, the sun dipping behind the strip mall across the lot. He leaned against the brick wall, taking a moment to breathe. Illy joined him a few minutes later, sipping a soda. "I've worked here almost a year," he said. "Never seen it run like this. Better or worse, different, more human," Preston nodded. "I spent too long thinking numbers told the full story. I missed what really matters." Illy looked over. "Why'd you come here, though? You could have sent someone else." "I needed to see it for myself." "I got tired of hearing filtered versions of the truth." Illy leaned against the wall beside him. "Some people thought you were a temp when you first showed up." "I was. Just not the kind they expected." Illy laughed, a small, genuine sound. Inside, Lane was helping a customer with a wheelchair navigate to a booth. Dylan called out an order without stumbling. The dishwasher, back from his break, was humming to himself as he loaded trays, but not everything was smooth. A man at the bar started raising his voice at the hostess, demanding a faster table. Carmen approached to calm him, but he snapped something under his breath, something crude, directed at her appearance. Preston didn't hesitate. He stepped in. "That's enough. You need to leave." The man turned. "Who are you supposed to be? I'm the owner, and I won't have anyone speak to my staff like that." The man tried to argue, but Preston didn't back down. "You're done here. Our staff deserves respect. If that's a problem, this isn't your place." The man left, grumbling. No one protested. Two customers at the bar nodded in quiet approval. Preston turned to Carmen. "You okay?" She blinked, surprised. "Yeah, thank you." He looked around. The space was still under strain but lighter somehow, like someone had finally lifted a foot off the brake. By closing, the staff moved with quiet coordination. Preston stayed to help sweep and wipe down the kitchen. Ellie handled the closing receipts with Carmen. Lane counted silverware. Dylan restocked the line. When the last table was cleared and the lights dimmed, Preston gathered the remaining crew near the hostess stand. "I know it's been a whirlwind," he began. "I didn't come here to play games. I came to listen and to learn where we failed, and I've seen enough to know we need to change. Not just here, across every location." No one interrupted. "Starting tomorrow, schedules will be reviewed with fairness in mind, breaks will be enforced, training will be mandatory, and every employee will be able to report concerns directly without fear." He paused. "You've all kept this place running under impossible conditions. You shouldn't have had to, but you did, and I won't forget it." Ellie looked up. "What about the people still getting pushed around at other stores?" "One step at a time," Preston said. "But we're stepping in the right direction." He handed Carmen a new binder, policies rewritten from scratch, real protections, real accountability. As the staff left one by one, Preston lingered. He walked the floor, quiet now, the tables clean, the lights low. He stopped by table 4, where the child had cried earlier, and traced a finger along the booth's edge. This place had cracks. But it also had people worth building around, and tomorrow they'd begin. By Tuesday morning, the corporate HR director, Tanya Holt, arrived at the Indianapolis location with a laptop bag and a clipboard under one arm. Preston had called her in personally. He wasn't interested in lip service or a memo. He wanted action. They met in the dining room before opening. The chairs were still flipped upside down on the tables. Tanya glanced around the space, lowering her voice as she spoke. "You want full audits across all sites, starting with this one. Schedules, payroll records, incident reports if they exist. I want to know what's been swept under the rug." Tanya nodded. "And the team here? They've earned more than apologies." By 9, Preston gathered the staff around the bar for a formal meeting. No aprons, no trays, just the crew and the truth. "Last week, I came in wearing the same uniform you did because I didn't trust the reports I was getting anymore. Now I know why." He let the silence settle. "Some of you were working under conditions no one should accept. You were expected to do 3 jobs at once. You were denied breaks. Some of you were pushed past legal limits without being told your rights. That ends now." He motioned to Tanya, who stepped forward. "We're setting up one-on-one check-ins for every employee," she said. "You'll be paid for your time. You'll have a chance to share anything that hasn't been heard. And we're installing a direct reporting line to my office. You won't need to go through your manager to be heard." A few staff members exchanged cautious glances. No one spoke yet. Preston turned to Ellie. "Can you stay after your shift today for a meeting?" Ellie nodded slowly, unsure what was coming. As the staff returned to prep for the day, Preston and Tanya moved to the back office, where Craig's old desk was still cluttered with unopened mail and a used energy drink can. Tanya opened the scheduling software. He was logging hours manually, no digital verification. "It's easy to manipulate. Fix it," Preston said. "No more handwritten time cards, and flag anything suspicious from the last 6 months." She paused. "There's something else." She turned her screen. A list of employees who had been scheduled regular doubles, often exceeding legal limits for minors without documented waivers. Preston read through the names. Ellie was on it. So were 3 others, all under 18. Were their parents notified? There's no record of consent forms. No permission slips on file. Document it. Report it. By the time the lunch shift began, Preston was back on the floor. He wasn't bussing today, but he wasn't sitting in the office either. He watched how the staff moved. He listened to how customers were greeted. He noticed small things. The new host, shy but attentive. The cook on Station 3 who handled a mistake without a raised voice. A server gently explaining an allergen swap to a worried father. At 2:30, Ellie clocked out and joined Preston in the back booth, soda in hand. "You said you wanted to talk," Preston nodded. "You've been steady through all this. Even when things were unfair, I noticed." Illy shifted in his seat. "I just did what I had to." "Where'd you learn that?" "My mom. She's a nurse, works nights at the hospital." "Doesn't complain." Preston leaned in. "I want to offer you something, not a promotion yet, a development track. We'll cover the cost of a restaurant operations course, flexible hours, mentorship from one of our general managers. You're already leading here." "Let's make it official over time." Illy blinked. "You do that for me, you've already earned it. We're just catching up." Illy said nothing for a long moment, then he looked down at the table and nodded once. "I'll do the work." "I know." Later that week, Tanya conducted exit interviews with every employee who had left the location in the past 6 months. The stories painted a grim picture: threats of schedule cuts, ignored harassment complaints, even cash tips mysteriously going unrecorded. 2 former staff members described a pattern of Craig assigning unwanted Friday closings to women who rejected his advances. Tanya didn't hesitate. She filed the findings directly with legal. Preston authorized immediate referral to state labor authorities. Meanwhile, Carmen was offered the general manager position. She hesitated at first. "I've never run a full store before." "You've already been doing it," Preston said. "And you've never compromised your standards." She accepted, quietly emotional, and immediately requested a meeting with the kitchen staff to renegotiate prep coverage and rotate weekend shifts more fairly. By the second Friday after Craig's removal, the mood in the building had shifted. Not dramatically, no one was laughing in slow motion or singing, but there was a steadiness. A sense that things were finally being built to last. A new food runner joined. He was paired with Lane, who now trained others with calm precision. Dylan had been moved from Expo to a proper line station, where he thrived without the pressure of coordination. And Ali? He walked in that evening with a new pair of shoes and a binder tucked under his arm, his first operations training packet. At 6:30, a group of corporate team members arrived unannounced, not for inspection, for dinner. They sat quietly, observed the service, and left generous tips. Preston watched from the side, not interfering, just noticing. After close, the team lingered for a few minutes longer than usual. It wasn't urgent anymore, it was proud. The last customers were gone, the kitchen wiped down, music still playing faintly. Preston turned to Carmen. "How's the team responding?" "They're tired, but it's different now. They know someone's paying attention." He nodded. "Good. It should stay that way." As he stepped outside into the cool night air, he saw Ali locking up the side entrance. They exchanged a glance. "You headed home?" Preston asked. "Yeah, got class tomorrow." Preston paused. "You still running from campus?" "Not anymore," Ali said. "Got a ride now." "And Carmen fixed my schedule." Preston smiled. "I'll see you next week. We'll go over the course outline." Ali raised a hand in quiet acknowledgement and walked off into the night, backpack slung over one shoulder, steps a little slower but more grounded. Preston turned toward his car, the lights from the restaurant casting long shadows behind him. He hadn't come here to fix a broken store. He came to find out where he went wrong, and he did. Now, he wasn't just rebuilding a location. He was rebuilding trust. And this time, he wasn't doing it from behind a desk.